This is the Sequential Prophet 6. In 2015, Dave Smith introduced this synthesizer not as a reissue, but as a modern twist on a vintage classic, the Prophet 5. Now, to me, this was one of the synths leading the way of the analog synth resurgence being seen in the last few years, and thankfully so. It's got 6 voices with 2 oscillators plus a sub-oscillator each, along with white noise. The thing that really got me interested in this synth at the time was one key factor: simplicity. Almost everything you can tweak on the synth is right there in front of you. No menu diving, no hidden options. Every parameter is at your fingertips at the turn of a knob. The preset button allows for just this, turning off the presets, making it what you see is what you get kind of setup. And I hope you like knobs because this synth has plenty. The oscillator section gives you access to the 2 analog VCOs. Each has a variable wave shape between triangle, saw, and pulse waves. The frequency knobs allow for adjusting each VCO's pitch with a fine-tune adjustment on Oscillator 2, which helps get nice, lush, fat sounds when combining the 2 oscillators. It's got pulse width knobs for controlling the pulse width of each oscillator, a low frequency button that lets you turn Oscillator 2 into an LFO, and a keyboard button that makes Oscillator 2's oscillation speed static instead of changing with the keys you play. There's also a sync button for syncing the 2 oscillators together and a slop knob to adjust drifting of note pitch for a more analog sound and to thicken things up. The mixer section lets you adjust the volume of each oscillator and white noise. The filter section has a high and low pass filter, each with cutoff, resonance, and envelope amount adjustments. The velocity button lets you control the envelope amount by how hard you press the keys, so think the harder you press, the harder the attack. And the keyboard tracking buttons allow for automatic adjusting of the filter as you play higher keys, so higher keys aren't as cut off and come through more. The Prophet 6 has 2 envelopes, so use them wisely. An amplifier envelope for controlling overall volume, which the overall amount can be affected by velocity sensitivity if you choose, and a filter envelope, which controls the filter. This can actually be assigned to a number of things using the polymod section. The polymod section acts as another modulation, allowing you to use the filter envelope or Oscillator 2 to modulate frequency, wave shape, or pulse width of Oscillator 1, or the overall low pass and high pass filter. You can adjust any or all of these things at once. You do have to be a bit creative when using this, as either you'll need to forego using the filter envelope or Oscillator 2 in your main sound to have more specific control here, or use them in tandem in a way that's still musical. Or not, your choice. Get weird. The other main modulator being the single LFO. The frequency knob changes the speed of the LFO with a sync button that lets you sync to the BPM you've selected in the clock section as quarter notes, eighth notes, etc., etc. 5 different LFO shapes with the ability to modulate pitch, pulse width, overall volume, and either filter. Using the initial amount option increases the LFO, but this disables the mod wheel, so this is if you're looking to have it as a constant for your patch. There are hold, glide, and unison buttons for infinite sustain of the last notes you've held, portamento, and stacking up to all 6 voices on top of each other for monophonic sounds. You can also hold down up to 6 notes at once and press the unison button to play that interval of notes with 1 key. The clock and arpeggiator section lets you choose your tempo, note value, and arpeggiator mode between 1, 2, or 3 octaves. The sequencer lets you record a polyphonic sequence up to 64 steps. This also has aftertouch, which allows you to modulate pitch, LFO, overall volume, or filter amount by pressing harder on the keys. It's not polyphonic aftertouch, but it's still cool. And with nowhere else to go, the Miscellaneous section has options for pan spread to go from mono to stereo, which actually is a really important knob. Key mode with options for low, high, and last key when you're playing monophonically. Pitch wheel range for the pitch wheel bend amount, and the individual program or patch volume. The right button allows for writing patches, of course, and the global button lets you dive a little deeper into some of the more technical options listed under the main 10 patch buttons. This synth has 1,000 patches, by the way, coming loaded with an identical 500 on the top and bottom half of the patch selection, and the ability to write over the bottom 500 patches with your own. The bank button allows you to jump between the different banks of 100 and the 10s between the 10s. The effects section allows for up to 2 effects to be used at once, including delays, reverbs, chorus, flangers, phasers, and a ring modulator. You can sync delays to the clock using the clock sync button, adjust mix amount, and you have 2 knobs for adjusting things like delay time, reverb length, and effect intensity. There's also a built-in analog distortion, but this might be my least favorite part of the synth, and my only qualm. It seems like it's a bit of a one-trick pony, with the sound sort of fading out and then back in, already really distorted when you turn it up. I wish it was a bit of a smoother fade into more of a slight overdrive, and then into a full distortion, but it could still be usable for a thing or 2 here or there. The back has standard left, right, and headphone outputs, along with MIDI in, out, and through, USB connection, and pedal and foot switch jacks for controlling the sequencer, sustain, overall volume, and low-pass filter. Now, what else can I say? Let's hear it in action. there you go. Despite being on the simpler side when it comes to overall modulation possibilities and different sound options, which I actually see as a good thing, there's still tons of possibility for interesting sounds, and the overall character of the sound of the synth is probably its strongest point. It just sounds great. This is the Sequential Prophet 6. Thanks for watching.